Hi everyone, it's Hans here, the founder of Cappuccino, and welcome back for Series 3 of Flat Whites and Insights. We're here for some open, honest and vulnerable conversations held over a beautiful cup of coffee, and they're coming from my home, so I'll be providing the flat whites, and my guests, they'll be providing the insights. So grab a coffee for yourselves, take a moment, and I hope you enjoy this latest conversation. Thank you, take care, and enjoy. Cathy, hi.
Hello.
Thanks so much for coming on to Flat Whites and Insights.
Thank you for having me.
No worries, and I'm looking forward to a conversation. We actually caught up for a coffee a little while ago when I kind of initially reached out to you about coming on the podcast, and you said, give it some time. I've got something in the pipeline. I've got a qualification lined up, and then we'll have a little chat after that. So
God, that feels like ages ago now, actually, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I feel like it was, what are we now, March? It was probably just about 6 months ago, maybe, I think. Because
Yeah.
I did my health coaching qualification,
Yes, that was
and I just thought if I wanted to talk about that, maybe it's better if I am actually fully qualified
Yes.
and able to speak a bit more about health and whatnot. So here I am.
Yeah,
Yeah.
here you are. And so how was the qualification, and is it Wellbeing with Cathy?
Yeah, that's it.
Kind of what I'm imagining that has led to and what that is. But yeah, for those who don't know who you are, to give an introduction to that and what you do in that space.
Yeah, so I'm a health coach, which a lot of people really know about. It's something that's kind of up and coming in the health world that the NHS is buying more into. And the idea is to prevent disease and to help people live better, live well. So I specialise a bit more in the hormone side of things.
Yes.
I help people balance their hormones by building healthy habits and creating a lifestyle that works for them.
Yeah.
And the coaching element is more the one-to-one accountability. It's almost like having a PT, but having someone to support you in your health journey. So yeah, it's all going really well.
Nice.
The studying was a lot, so I'm glad to be fully qualified.
Yes.
But
I
yeah.
imagine that was all alongside working full time as well. I imagine that wasn't time. It's just fitting it around life and around work, which I guess is maybe something that even comes up in your conversations with clients and stuff about everyone. One of the things that people might often say is, I don't have time.
Absolutely.
I know that's something I've struggled with
Yeah.
myself, and every now and again I'll get into, I'll start going to the gym, I'm going to start running. And then, time, I'm very busy, similar to yourself, where we've got things that we do alongside work. For me, like my Cappuccino platform, on the committee at the local football club, they've got town. For yourself, working full time and then looking to launch this.
Yeah, everyone's so busy. You hit the nail on the head. I feel like everyone who comes to me is exactly that. Like, people want to meditate, they don't have time, even 5 minutes. But I think it's all about trying to prioritize and actually find what you want the most out of your life. Because obviously for you, being part of all these things is so important.
Yeah.
So you're going to find time for those. But actually, when people come to me with health goals and stuff, it's really important for them. So you have to jiggle some things around, and some people even have a diary where they write down everything they do to find those 30 minutes of their day that they're actually not doing anything, that they can put something in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like when I was studying, and even now, it's definitely trying to squeeze things in and sacrificing some things. I think my social life is definitely...
Yeah, I think that's the reality of it though sometimes, isn't it? There isn't only a limited amount of time. And it's, but I think, imagine people who, close friends, support you, like family, they'll understand, and they see what you're getting from it, and people will only want to see people in their circle do well and do something that they love and making a difference. So I think it's, sometimes you might have to sacrifice that thing. Or...
Yeah, I've definitely tried to be more boundaried. I used to be really bad at saying no to things, and I would always have massive FOMO. I mean, I still have massive FOMO, but every time, if there's something going on, I'd now try to tell people in advance, I'm quite busy at the moment, I might not be able to make everything. And saying no has become a little bit easier. I'm feeling a little bit less guilty when I have to say no to things now.
Yeah, which is always nice. And I mean, I've, very similar. Always struggled with saying no, taking on too much. I think something I've often struggled with, particularly with the nature of having depression and anxiety, something I've noticed is if I'm feeling great and I'm on a real like peak, then I'm like, oh, my capacity is so different to when I'm maybe in a bit of a trough, or maybe when I'm, having a bit of a period with a depressive episode. And so I'm trying to get better at, that what will my capacity be if I'm not feeling great, and almost agreeing to things in advance with that. Otherwise, I'll be feeling great, and everyone's probably got things they can relate to where, you say yes, 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 and then the day comes along and you're like, please cancel.
Yeah.
And I was putting too much pressure on myself to then, always be good, rather than, accepting and understanding and living within, the reality of some days I'm not going to feel, 100%. And then the more I do, if I don't give myself that time to rest, I'm only going to make that more likely as well.
Yeah, I think it's so important to have that reflection and recognise what actually can fill you up and give you energy, and what, especially when you're in moments like that, when you're already quite sensitive and drained, what will actually drain you even more.
Yeah.
And often it is that just saying no and having me time is the thing that makes you feel better.
100%. I mean, I say it like self-care is not selfish. I say it on my platform, but I've said for a long time, that's a reminder to me more than anyone else, because when I started it all, that was a big thing for me. It was, a journey, I guess, of accepting, sometimes I can put myself first, or there's a difference between, success and productivity. Like, I always would, and I still do it now. I measure my days on productivity before I measure them on anything else, which isn't always the healthiest. And but it's maybe just changing that perspective of, if I just, took a book and read in the sunshine with a nice coffee for the afternoon, that can still be productive because it was good for my well-being. But that's a shift that I'm still very much in the process of doing. But yeah, I tend to measure my days on productivity, which I know isn't always
I love that. That's really good. I need to start doing that. Especially those like little snippets of, what they call them, glimmers now, don't they? When you're just doing something really nice for yourself and it's giving you that little boost.
Yeah, and you almost like lose track of time. Yeah. You just, like little things like we were saying about how the sun's come out, and I think everyone in any conversation this week will have been saying the same, but didn't realise how much I'd missed it or how much it impacted me until it was there. So like, yesterday, just during my lunch break, just went and sat in the sun, and it was like, yeah, that was nice. Just set me up for the afternoon, and it just,
so powerful. I feel like the sun is just magical. Everyone, as soon as the sun comes out, everyone's just now
it
like
just improves
walking.
the mood. Yeah. It's just, everything's brighter. So yeah, but wellbeing coaching, gonna kind of circle. I nearly said circle back. I went so corporate. You can tell I'm can tell I'm an office manager now in a corporate job. Oh, that's horrible. Anyway, well, let's circle back to the wellbeing coaching. And so, where did kind of the passion for that come from, or what kind of led you on that journey? I guess because I mean our paths crossed briefly while we were working at a charity. I think kind of we never worked directly with each other, but through colleagues we kind of. Were together, and I actually remember that you were going travelling, which is why you left that position.
Many times, left and come back.
But so was it while you were travelling that kind of you fell upon this? Or?
I think it's been a long journey. I feel like when I was younger, like a teenager into uni, I was quite unhealthy, and I always felt quite uncomfortable in my body. And then I actually remember when I was living in Thailand years ago, there's one moment that always stands out to me where I just felt really just uncomfortable, and I was like, I'm feeling really unhealthy. This isn't good. And since then, that's when I started like looking after myself better and just being really interested in nutrition, and exercise and that kind of thing. And then so I moved to the UK. I think it must be like 8 years ago, the first time now, and I started working for health charities, cancer research. I've worked for a few different cancer charities. I now work for another health charity. And that was my way of kind of doing something that you feel like you're doing something, but also obviously working at a distance, because I was never in the like service delivery. I was always in the fundraising side of things. And then I just guess it suddenly felt like I wasn't doing enough, and I could actually take one step further and actually support people one-to-one myself. And I think that's what it was really. It was more like I had all this knowledge from my passion and just being interested in food, and I'm a yoga teacher as well, so that like movement element what can I do to help people who I see that are struggling?
Yeah.
And that kind of health coaching was a little bit easier to get qualified than a nutritionist, which take years and years and years. So yeah, that was it, I think. And I've always been that person that quite a few people come to for like advice on what to eat if they want to lose weight or exercise things. So it just came quite naturally in that sense.
Which is amazing sometimes when you feel something is a natural fit, or you feel like you're doing something that's not forced, maybe, then it just comes a little bit easier. Does that make sense as well? Or you feel, I know purpose is a big word, but and can get thrown around a lot, but I imagine there's maybe a sense of, this is this is my purpose. I feel like I'm doing the right thing. It feels, beneficial. It means you're willing to put the work in to make it happen. Because you see the rewards, and it must be really rewarding to see people on that journey. I'm not sure at the stage it's at now how many people you supported or are supporting, but I can imagine it's really, really
it is
rewarding.
Incredible. Yeah, it's really nice when you can have a conversation with someone about like their lifestyle and you just see that like click or something, being like, oh my god, I haven't realized this before, this is what's holding me back. And then seeing the progression, it is incredible. And like we talked about energy before, when I finish like a day of work and I have a coaching call in the evening, I'm feeling drained and I'm like, oh, it's going to be hard doing this, having this like hour full-on session. And then I'm in it and it's just like a flow and I'm feeling so energized by the end of it. And I think that's what, when you say purpose, that's when I know that I'm doing the right thing, because I'm actually feeling really energized when I'm doing it. So it is nice. I feel like I'm on the right path.
Yeah, no, amazing. I can certainly relate in terms of that, things that give you energy, about purpose. I think things like this, we've both had a full day of work, and but I love having these conversations and this podcast, and it's like this is my favorite bit of it, the actual conversation. It's I do a bit of the editing as well, so it's a skill that I'm learning, and it's nice to put it out there and see what the engagement is and see what people's reactions are. But even if it wasn't going out there, just the chance to have these conversations and hear about people's stories and see what journeys they're on, and it's just really amazing.
I love that you can just reach out to anyone and be like, oh, I want to hear more about what you're doing, and just invite them on and have that conversation.
Yeah, in
it's
a
quite
way,
a nice thing that you can just do.
Yeah, it's quite nice, and it's nice that people feel they want to come on and trust it. I mean, you're one of many who they've not really done many podcast things before, but I like that, for a lot of people I'm their first podcast. It's quite nice because it's like an easy entry, and like I say, it's a conversation. But it's nice because people do ask me, so it's Cappuccino, they see the platform, the logo, oh, is it going to be specifically a coffee podcast, is it going to be this? But really, coffee is just the vehicle that leads to the conversation. It's a people podcast, and so like I say, I can kind of reach out, or people I meet, or our paths cross, and you just feel that they've got something they want to share and they feel they can push out, but also out of curiosity, if I can be like, oh, I want to know a little bit more about that.
And who doesn't love coffee anyway?
Exactly. So and it gives people a chance, to come have a coffee and have a chat. So it's been really nice. So yoga you mentioned there as well. I know you're quite close with my sister as well, which was funny.
Erin,
who's been on the pod. Erin's been on the pod, and she also does yoga herself. And so how, in terms of that and the health coaching, so are they kind of separate, or do you tie them in? So if someone was in like a health, was using the program, is it kind of all encompassing, or I guess it might be something you'd recommend as a something to? Yeah,
it can be. I mean, at the moment they both fall under the same business. So I used to just be Yoga with Cathy. Now I'm Wellbeing with Cathy.
Okay.
And I'm trialing out now, kind of reaching out to potential clients through people who come to my classes. But that's a good point. I haven't really prescribed yoga to anyone or told people to do it necessarily in terms from the coaching side of things, from the health goals. So at the moment it's still a little bit separate, but definitely in the future I could probably, I'd love to run retreats. That's a massive goal of mine, and well-being retreats that are yoga but also have coaching elements to it. That would be incredible. So if anybody wants to come, just
I'm sure there'd be interest. But no, I've seen I know a few people who do similar retreats and various things like that, and I think that's what Erin went to train to become a yoga teacher. I think she went out to Thailand, I believe. Did a kind of immersive week, which I can imagine was quite a cool experience. But it's just finding that purpose through, as you say, through health, well-being, be it movement, be it nutrition. Must be really rewarding.
Yeah, it is. It's like I said, it's nice when people can change their lives through something. I mean, people have changed their lives in so many different ways, but it's nice when they feel better and feel more energized and feel more confident through like some simple things that they can do with their nutrition and lifestyle.
And often, I guess, sometimes it's just that opening their eyes to it, and then it's facilitating in a way to then allow people to take control of their own journeys.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, it is good.
Nice. So, what would you suggest are, like, if someone is feeling, well, other than sign up to Wellbeing,
Yeah.
but if someone's, maybe can relate to this from what you're saying about, people who maybe feeling a little bit stressed about themselves, stressed about their health, about making time, are there any kind of suggestions or tips that you'd have? I know habits is a big thing that you speak about as well. But yeah,
I would say start small. So the worst thing that people can do is have like New Year's resolutions where they're like, I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week. I'm going to completely cut out sugar, cut out carbs. Like, I think for me, what I try to preach and talk about is small changes. And then over time, they can grow bigger and bigger. But when you have the habit in place, that's when you actually see the impact, because people will start massive and then feel a bit rubbish and not be able to do it and then just not do anything at all. But if you go to the gym once a week and have that as your goal, that's so much easier to hit, and then you'll start feeling the benefits, and then you can maybe add in a second day. If you only, instead of like reducing or cutting out sugar altogether, just look at your diet and think about portion size, or think about adding in more vegetables. I'm very much about like adding things in rather than taking things out, and try to boost your veg, your fibre, all the nutrients in your food rather than restriction, which I think...
Yeah, because restriction makes people feel a bit, oh no, but I guess it's easier to add, especially if you're finding it difficult, I guess. Like, to some people, they can be really disciplined straight away, and they go, if I'm not having this, I'm not having it. I definitely don't fall into that category. And like I said before, when I was, I tried gym memberships or try this, and if I set myself a schedule, or I set myself, in the calendar, if I miss 1 or 2 in a row, then I'm like, no, that's it.
Yeah.
See you later. Not for me. Like,
and you're not the only one. That happens to so many people.
Yeah, it has so many people. And I know I'm bad for it. Like, and I even know that I'm like that. So it's, even with anything, like at the start of the day, I make my to-do list. Love a to-do list. And I'm like, if I don't hit my to-do list, I get a bit frustrated, even if I've had a really productive day. But I know that's where, people say about that, don't make a to-do list, make a what you've done list.
Yeah.
And it makes it, so at the end of the day, you've got that list of everything you've done, and don't give yourself this ambitious, unrealistic target, I'm going to be so productive today. And I guess similar in that, don't tell yourself, I have to stop eating this, I have to do this, work out 4 days a week.
Exactly. Just find what works for you, I think, is probably the best thing as well. Like, people think you have to go to the gym to feel good, but actually, what about walking? What about tennis? What about if you find something that you're actually enjoying? It's so much easier. Whereas not everyone enjoys the gym. It's not for everyone. So try a few things and then see what works.
Like I say, find what you enjoy. Because at the end of the day, you're doing it for you. I guess if you lose weight, let's say, weight is the big one. Like, it's not all, and weight is, and I know Erin, my sister, who does like PT and a lot of gym stuff, she said, like, if that's something that happens, that's fair enough. It's about the enjoyment. It's about, the feeling better in yourself and feeling healthier. But if someone, say, is on a strict diet and they're exercising regimentally and they lose weight, but they're not enjoying it, and they're not, then what? Why? I guess is what I would ask. I say, what's the point?
Exactly.
Is it, say, you look good for people who don't know you, who don't, it's mainly, it's got to be for yourself, I guess.
Yeah, it's about finding the reason why you want to do it, because some people do want to look good if they're like working towards a holiday or something. That's fine. It'll help work for them. But if you want to do it sustainably and make it actually last, then you have to find things that are of value for you. So we do, in my coaching, we do a lot of work around values and people's like priorities and what actually is the most important thing for them. And that's when you find that motivation that will actually stay with you to help you make that change.
Yeah, when you understand the why with anything.
Yeah.
Like that Simon Sinek book, Start With Why, whether it's work, whether it's anything. And I think as long as you keep sight of that as well, it's really important. And it helps just keep you on track and on the days when it is maybe feeling tougher than usual.
Exactly.
Keeping that why in mind.
It's so easy to lose sight of, though, because I mean, our society is designed to distract us from anything that we want to achieve.
Yes.
Unfortunately, but yeah,
that's how they get us. Should be so, but there are so many more distractions, I guess, as well. Like in terms of you look at even growing up, people in school now these days compared to when we were, and all the apps and everything's online, digital. It's there's a lot more distraction. No one's really got an attention span now over.
I know, it's crazy.
Over I say a 45-minute hour meeting now. Even I know sometimes with working professionals or people I see in the team, like people are on a team call, but they're like checking their phone or checking this, and it's like we can't just focus on a conversation. Even when people watch TV, it's like you're scrolling.
I'm really bad at that, to be fair. When I'm trying to watch TV, I can't watch it alone because I can't focus. I don't know whether it's the screen that I'm just overboard, done with screens.
Yeah.
But I tend to kind of just like get distracted trying to watch telly, which might be a good thing that I'm not watching too much.
Yeah,
but I can watch it with somebody else because then I'm forced to focus. But otherwise,
otherwise they keep telling you, "Shut up! I'm trying to watch TV." Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. But no, it is that. It's trying to. It's rare that sometimes I really enjoy it. If there's a program I'm really enjoying and I'm like, okay, I'm putting my phone away. And just watching it, which I guess still isn't great because you're still just going from one screen to the next. But it's about the not being available as well, and just being like, this time is for me. I'm not available for anyone, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Boundaries.
Yeah.
What we're
particularly in the roles I do now as like a club secretary as well, where you are the point of contact for the football club. I've got my job. I've got this platform where people are trying to connect with me. So I sometimes feel like I have to be available all the time, but I don't.
It's really hard, isn't it?
And it is hard, it is hard, especially when I want to be there for people, I want to be that person. But sometimes I'm almost creating situations or like, oh, surely someone's gonna be trying to get hold of me, and it's like, maybe there's a little bit of the ego as well of like, come on, Hans, people aren't gonna mind if you have an hour where you're not available. The world can wait.
Yeah, we're just so used to everything happening straight away. I've been trying recently to not respond to WhatsApps straight away because that's something that I'm quite bad at, and then not apologising for not responding straight away. So if I leave it a couple of days, instead of being like, I'm so sorry I haven't responded to you,
just respond.
I've been really busy, just continue the conversation.
And at the end of the day, if it was urgent, someone would call.
Exactly.
Being honest, like if someone's messaged you and there's no response, and I guess, and again, there's certain messages where you get that sense, but if it's just a catching
and you can see them, can't you? They pop up, so you've read them.
You've read it.
People know you've read it.
Yeah, people know you read it. We're all just in this game where it's like, oh, have you read it or not? I'm the same even at work now with emails and Teams messages, especially in this new job. It's a big thing if I'm wary. I don't want to go in 110% because also you create a VOD for your own back. I don't want to be the person who always responds immediately, and I don't want to be the person who... Partly it's in my job, as there's elements of my job where there's things I have to get back to. But trying to just, not set my own standard too high, as much as it's difficult because I'm always someone who wants to give 100% and wants to do well, especially with a new organisation. You just, you got to feel a sense for what's realistic and what's going to be sustainable as well.
Exactly.
So it's it's interesting. It's interesting. Trying to see how it all pans out.
Yeah.
But in terms of the wellbeing coaching, and so you said yourself as well about that feeling uncomfortable is something you spoke about as kind of growing up. I think it's something. So when I was growing up, when I was at school, I was bullied quite a lot for my looks, for my weight and stuff. So it has kind of made me conscious about it. Probably more so than I often admit. It's not necessarily what I talk about on my page. I talk about, depression, anxiety. A lot of it came from parents separating and things. But there was definitely an element of that not feeling value in myself. And that came from external opinions and stuff. Do you find or yourself when you said you were uncomfortable and didn't feel healthy? Was that maybe from yourself, or did you feel that similar kind of pressure or experiences? If that kind of makes sense. That's a really long-winded way to ask the question, I guess.
No, definitely. I mean, a bit of both, to be honest. When I was young, I was always like a big kid. I've always carried extra weight. I think I kind of was roller coastering, if that's not the right word, but roller coaster my weight all the way through my teenage years. And then when I was at university, actually, me and two of my really good friends were just obsessed with being skinny, which was, again, of the times. Everyone was very much like magazine covers and everything. This is when I was like 20 years old. And I remember we just used to eat, I was thinking about this on the way here actually. For my lunch at uni, we used to get a packet of chicken and just eat that for lunch, and that was everything. And then because I went to uni in Paris, go home and then have a croissant and be like, what was the point? If I had a balanced meal, I would be feeling so much better. So I definitely had a bit of like obsession around food in my early 20s. And then when I went traveling, so I went traveling to Australia when I was like 22, I think, for 2 years. And that was a lot of drinking and partying and not eating very well. They had like $5 Domino's, McDonald's all the time, everything, all the cheap food that is just trash. And that's when I gained weight. And that's when I was then in Thailand thinking, oh, I just don't feel good in my body. I just felt big. And I don't know if that was external people, like what do people think of me? I do remember just feeling quite unhealthy, and it was definitely a sense that I got in myself. And it was almost like this feeling that like this isn't who I am, like I don't feel like myself. And it was just trying to reach myself, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. And I think I've had those times when it's, and although we're saying it's not external, because it's not, like people have their own lives to worry about and everything, but that sense of it's internal, but of that worrying, okay, are people going to look at me? Are people going to judge me for this? Are people think, if I'm feeling that I'm like this and that look like this, other people are going to do the same.
And again, it's a society thing, I think, and also like...
Particularly, as you said, if you'd had that mindset at university and then maybe the shift from that to Australia, and it was such a shift. There's maybe part of you thinking, oh, if I put a photo up, is that girl that I was with at university going to be like, we used to eat chicken together, what are you doing? That kind of...
I'm still best friends with her.
Okay, so that's me.
And so funny.
But in terms of that, when people, if there's people you maybe haven't seen for a while, or then, and it was that age where, Facebook, you're travelling as well, so people are going to be like, oh, let's see photos from you travelling and stuff like.
Exactly. And again, like when I was a kid as well, I was definitely bullied. I remember being called fat, and like that's like that trauma at that young age sticks with you. So there's a lot of, I think I've done quite a lot of work around my just mentality around that sort of stuff to make sure that I'm in a good place now as well. And I can definitely say that like when I'm eating, it's in a very healthy way. And I think I've recognized in clients as well when there are those little triggers. And I was working with someone recently who asked me if it was okay to have an avocado, because she used to go to Slimming World, and at Slimming World, avocados are bad because they're high calorie, but actually they're like one of the healthiest foods you can have. So it's trying to do a little bit of work around mindset as well, to make people know that food is safe and food is good and you need to eat.
It's interesting that actually,
tough.
Even from that question, it says a lot maybe about the mindset of shift of where someone had been. And it's like when you see, when people have been in, let's say, toxic work environments or toxic relationships sometimes, and they come out and it's like you become so accustomed to that then it's like asking questions like you see maybe someone, oh, is it okay if I just, pop out for a walk? And everyone's like, do what you want, like you're an adult kind of thing. But they clearly learnt that behaviour from an environment where there was somewhere they had to.
Exactly, that's it. It's the learned behaviour, isn't it? It's
and
the
learned behaviour around food and around, because I think, I've got a funny relationship with food in a way, because I know that I'm not the healthiest in terms of, it's funny because I feel like, and where I had all my struggles with my mental health, there were then times when, a comfort sometimes was food or whatever, and it's like trying to get that balance of, there were times when I was like, oh, mentally I feel better than I ever have, but then I'm like, oh, but physically I'm not as fit as I used to be. And it's just finding that balance of, as long as I'm happy in myself and at peace, like peace of mind to me is more important than, that 1 or 2 kilograms or whatever, because I know I'm not the slimmest or the trimmest, but then that's just, you know, I'm trying to find a place where I'm happy with that.
Exactly.
And that relationship with food, or even trying to like maybe eat a bit healthier recently. But it was funny what you mentioned about, you know, just having a small lunch, then you go back and have a croissant. It was like, had like my healthier lunch, you know, some oat cakes and fruit. And then I came home and had like a couple of pancakes and some ice cream. And I was like, well, if I'd have just eaten a bigger lunch, but more nutritious, like filled myself up with good stuff, I wouldn't like have to come home starving and eat like trash.
That's when the restriction doesn't work out, does it?
No, because it's like you end up not doing something that works for you as well. But it's an interesting one. It is a dynamic, and I think for myself, growing up in an all-boys school as well was really interesting, because it was like, a difficult one like that. Oh, and also it was like, you know, like pick on the weakest kind of thing.
Kids are horrible.
It was like, they would just find like, you know, pick on the weakest, because I was emotional. I got bullied for being too emotional, which didn't help, because then you're being bullied, so you get emotional.
Yeah.
And then also for my size, which was probably a comfort thing, because I was getting bullied. And then, so difficult. School was difficult, really difficult. And I think that carried a lot into then when I was 22 and I kind of got diagnosed with everything. Although it wasn't directly from that school, it definitely, just the years, I guess, of holding stuff in and building it up all kind of came to the fore. But that's why I like doing what I do now with the page and the platform, just encouraging conversation about, you know, not just for young guys, but it's I guess an audience that I can relate to.
Yeah, it's
I'm
great.
not necessarily a young guy anymore, in my 30s now, so I'll stick as guys now.
But
I recently got invited to go on a podcast called, and it's going to happen, hopefully, but it's called like Midlife Men, and I was like, oh, cheers. When I got, he was like, no, you don't have to be middle-aged. I was like, this is my my audience now, is it, midlife? But
that's funny.
About kind of, because it is true that a lot of the narrative goes around young men, but, you know, then what about old men? Like, just men in general.
Yeah.
And talking like, you don't, and it actually made me think, you don't really hear the narrative around that.
No.
And that's when you often got more dependents, like mortgages, kids.
And actually, I feel like younger generations now, there's a lot more, obviously, support and awareness, whereas it's the older generations that have a different mindset and aren't necessarily open to talking about mental health.
Yeah, and they wouldn't have had that through education and growing up, and then their group of mates probably will never have had those conversations.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, it's quite nice, even with like my mates now. Like, I was on a stag do last weekend, and there was moments where a few of it, like, I don't drink, so I was a bit fresher than maybe some of the others in a few days. But it was moments when, you know, they were genuinely asking and genuinely interested. Oh, so why did you stop drinking? Why did you? And like some guys who I met just on that weekend, and it was really nice actually. On the first night, one of them was like, "Look, I'm going to ask you this now before I've had anything to drink, before it comes across the wrong way. But I just want to understand, like, you know,
that's
is there a reason you're not drinking stuff?" And he was like, the fact he took the time to even ask, rather than just, you know, okay, well, he doesn't drink. And the fact as well, he was like, I'll ask you now before it might come across wrong if I'm drunk, and, you know.
It's really good. It's good there's not that much, well, I say not that much, it depends on the situation.
Yeah, it depends on the situation.
The pressure around drinking isn't as much as it used to be, I think. Because
No.
I'm the same, I don't drink that much anymore. I still enjoy a Prosecco, and like I have a drink in the sun and everything, but I definitely don't drink half as much as I used to. And I feel like my friends are very aware of that, and I'm okay with being boring and like...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, I'm the same. I'm like, yeah, cool. I'm like, yeah. But they were quite funny, because they were like, oh, okay, well, in the morning they were like, okay, Hans, we need to find a nice place for brunch, good coffee. And I was like, this is where I can shine. This is where I was like, don't worry, last night I'd already searched it and we were there. But I guess it's easier once... It was hard initially, because the first time you see people, since you made that decision, you know, they just almost out of instinctively, they're like, oh, we'll get around. And then I'll have to be like, oh, no, actually, I won't go in the rounds, because... but now, because it's coming up to 4 years, it'll be 4 years in May.
Amazing.
Since I've had a drink, so it's a lot easier now, because people who know me just know that I don't drink, so I'm not really having to introduce it at any point. And 4 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
How do you feel? Do you remember what it feels like to have a hangover?
It's in a weird way, like, not really. It feels a long time ago, because the hangover was bad, but then also I more kind of stopped for how I was when I was drunk, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, I just didn't like the person who I was when I was drunk. I didn't like the lack of control and not being able to control it. I mean, I'm quite good at managing my emotions now and understanding things, what's a rational thought, what's not, but, you know, it's very busy up here still. what was it, anxiety, depression, and sometimes if I was drunk, then I wouldn't be able to control or manage that so much. So it's quite nice just knowing that I'll just, will be in control and can still go out, enjoy having a good time, dance stuff, and maybe realise as well that I didn't need it.
Yeah.
Like I'm very much a people person. I kind of buzz off the energy of meeting new people, chatting, the environment anyway. Like I don't necessarily, it made me realise maybe I didn't give myself enough credit for that because I thought, I'll have to have a few drinks and then I'll do it, but I can do it anyway. So.
That's great.
So yeah, it's nice. It's nice to just not have that worry. And I think my wife's very happy as well. Like it was always going to be my decision. It was my decision, but just I know that she's a lot less worried now because there are moments you have nights out where then you get a bit concerned about what's going to happen or this, that, and the other. So
yeah,
it's quite nice just to I don't really miss it as well.
No, that's good.
Yeah, other than a good red wine, that's the only thing else because they can't replicate that with the 0%.
That is true, actually. I feel like that's probably one of the only things that you can't really replicate. Yeah,
it just doesn't quite.
Grape juice.
Yeah, it just doesn't quite do it.
No.
But no. Anyway, yeah, we've digressed. But yeah, I guess it does come down to that well-being and health, and it was right for me. But very much, I won't judge people who drink because I'm like, this is my life, my situation. They can have theirs.
Yeah.
There'll be people who judge me for the amount of coffee I drink. There'll be people who judge me for the amount of food I eat, time I do, whatever, and it's just like,
How many coffees do you drink a day, out of curiosity?
It's actually not too bad. I said that. So I'll have 3 coffees a day.
Okay, yeah.
But each of those will probably be a double shot. So six espresso shots worth of coffee a day.
Wow.
Which sounds more when I say it that way.
No, but you must really cope with caffeine well, because if I had that, I wouldn't be able to sleep.
Yeah, I can cope with it. I could have a coffee before going to bed and I'd go to sleep. Yeah,
People like that amaze me. I have a few friends who are just like
I don't know
coffee.
if it's good or not, but it does mean that sometimes during the day I think, am I having this coffee just to maintain, where sometimes people have a coffee and they're like, okay, I've got a buzz, I'm ready now.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like mine's more, if I don't have coffee, that's when I notice it.
Yeah. Interesting.
Rather than if I was to not have one all morning, I guess I would get that then caffeine buzz, but I'd have a bit of a dip. But yeah, I don't drink as much as some people. I think people think I drink more just because of the nature of the page and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to have 3 a day and none after 4 p.m.
And it's probably good quality coffee that you're drinking as well.
Yeah. So which means it often is a little bit stronger as well than just the instant stuff. So so there'll be a bit more caffeine in there. But yeah, if I'm having a coffee, I want to enjoy it. So I was really happy that, I'm not the biggest fan of the pods, but there's an espresso machine at the new office, so I was very happy with that.
It's good to have something, yeah.
So yeah, can have a nice little Americano in the
office.
So.
I love coffee.
Yeah, I'm the same. Yeah, it's good, and it's nice though that it's something that you can never learn. You can never complete it. People can really go into it, and even I don't feel I've gone that deep into it because it's just a bit of a passion. It was useful during lockdown. Had the coffee machine at home, and that was when I really got into it.
Yeah. And
the latte art and everything.
There's so much to know, isn't there? I got a coffee machine for Christmas.
Nice.
A proper one that you can do other things, but I still don't really know. And people ask me what type of coffee I like. I call myself a coffee snob, but I just still don't know the roasts or anything.
Yeah.
But I know
but
a good
enough
coffee
of a snob. You don't want just instant.
Can't drink instant. No.
Fair enough. Are you doing art on your coffees yet?
Not really. I've watched some YouTube videos where you can do it, but it doesn't really look great. I also drink pea milk, so it doesn't get as frothy as.
Yeah, I can imagine it's not as thick.
No, but it's really tasty though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe sometime I'll have to come around and see what I can do with it.
Yeah.
Because I think they're local as well. So
literally 3 minute
drive.
drive.
I'm just inviting myself around. But
yeah, it's fine.
Have a little coffee evening.
Yeah.
Not evening.
Morning. Has to be the morning for me.
Maybe coffee morning, and then you might be able to get me to do some yoga, but I'm not sure.
Oh yeah.
I'm not sure. Maybe we'll do
it.
Okay, on camera. Yeah, at some point we'll do coffee and yoga. Yeah, I'll try. Erin's been trying for ages to get me to do yoga.
Oh, she can come as well.
Yes. Yeah. There we go.
Great.
Amazing. I feel like we're tying up on that note, but thanks for the conversation. It's really interesting to hear a little bit more about it and about what you do. I'd say Wellbeing with Cathy.
That's
Obviously make sure it will be tagged in this and everything.
Hope
people do check you out. But before we finish, there's a question I ask everyone, and that is, what does happiness mean to you?
I was thinking about this because you did tell me that you were going to ask it, and I've seen it before. And I feel like if you asked me this even 5 years ago, my answer would be completely different. Where I used to find happiness in being spontaneous and adventure and changing my life all the time. Whereas now it's very much like a dog walk or a night in with my partner or like really simple things.
Yeah.
So for me, happiness is just like wholesome, day-to-day, boring stuff. I think that makes me the most happy. The sun being out as well. It's just like walks in the sun in the countryside. So yeah, simplicity.
I love that. Yeah, I can relate, and I think, the busier our lives gets, I think the more we appreciate that time when actually we can just stop and pause. And I think there's too much of a drive to be busy, productive all the time, and sometimes the little simple things are.
Yeah, and I think actually it's since COVID now. Like, my life completely, what I wanted from life completely changed in COVID. I think, and it found my way back here.
Yeah, because you were abroad during the lockdowns, weren't you?
Yeah, I was
so that must have been quite an experience as well.
I was stuck in India for 6 months, and I was like, my life was just traveling. I was gone for.
I feel like we're just finishing, just wrapping up, and you just dropped that. Just dropped that. Oh yeah, so sorry, I had 6 months.
There's not that
stuck
much
in
to
India.
say,
Yeah.
but yeah, I was doing yoga in India, and they just announced the shutdown of the country, and ended up staying there for 6 months, and then I eventually came back to my parents who live in France. So I was in France for another 6 months, and then came back to Oxford, and I was like, oh, this is actually where I want to be, just like English countryside, which I never thought I would say. So here I am.
Took travelling around the world, but then found.
I know.
Sometimes it is the simple things.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing. Thanks, Cathy.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this latest episode of Flat Whites and Insights, and I really hope you gained something from that conversation, because I know I certainly did. It would mean a lot if you can like or subscribe on whatever platform you may be watching or listening on, and please do share this podcast with any friends or family or anyone you know that you think might benefit from having a listen. Also, if you can head over to Instagram and give Cappuccino a follow, that's where you'll find the latest updates as we look to raise awareness of mental health through my passions for football and coffee. And I'm always open to people getting in touch if you want to have a conversation, collaborate, or even come on the podcast yourself. The support means a lot, and I'm very grateful. Thanks so much again, and I hope to see you soon.